So this might be a bit of a long-winded answer, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, and I'm sure Jade will edit some of this. I always wanted to work in the fashion industry as number one, but being in Glasgow, there wasn't much of a fashion scene when I was younger, so it was really difficult to break into anything. So everything that I wanted to do was down in London, but again, living in London, doing unpaid internships wasn't accessible for someone like me who was brought up on benefits. So it was a really difficult way to break in, and I'm sure loads of people have done it and whatever, but I couldn't find the way because I didn't have the mentors or guidance at the time. I decided that actually I'm fed up of getting rejected from all these internships, all these jobs that I was wanting to do, getting rejected from them. So I thought the only way for me to work in this creative industry is for me to have my own brand. So I decided several years after travelling that I'm gonna invest in building my own fashion brand. But it was during that time that's when I recognised the fashion industry was heavily pollutant, heavily exploitative, and just not sustainable whatsoever. I decided that I didn't want to work in an industry that had all those red flags. It didn't align with me at that time. So I was thinking, how else do I work in this industry that I've always wanted to work in without compromising my values? And then I came up with the rental idea within 3 to 6 months of making that decision. And that's how the Killer Muse was born. So I thought there is huge room for a fashion rental platform. There was like one business doing it in America, but not quite the way I was doing it. That's how the Killer Muse was born, and it kind of changed a few times over COVID. The business model changed, but at what you see now as the Killer Muse started back in 2020, 2019. The name itself started when I was 21 as a fashion blog. It would probably be black, but I would actually, to be honest, that is probably maybe about 30% of my wardrobe, so it's not like 90% of my wardrobe's black. And then the rest of it is like on a colour wheel of like dark colours. So I do love dark colours. I think it's easy to style, and it's easy to style sustainably if you're on the same colour wheel. But then I also love like bold colours like green, pink, and then I also love white as well. So yeah, to answer the question, black is probably the one that is in my wardrobe more, but on that colour wheel of black is like loads of different colours, like cerises, these reds, but black would be the one that appears the most. I would always tell someone to do their research, find mentors, find someone that is even 6 months ahead of the game of you, because then that way that person can share insight and still be relatable, and their current and recent mistakes can be something that you can prevent. Have like some kind of accountability partner, but also 100% believe in yourself, because doing business is so difficult, it's so grueling. People are going to constantly tell you you're not the one to do it, your business isn't great, you're too soon, you're too late, it's too competitive. There's all these kinds of rejections that come your way. So I would always have a good network of people, especially someone that can hold you accountable that is 6 months ahead of you, but also just keep believing in yourself because you've totally got it. I don't know how to describe these or answer these kind of questions without sounding so cocky, because I'm not. But like, I would say my style is, it can be quite minimalistic, it can also be quite bold, it can also be quite provocative, and sometimes a bit of a clash of the things that should actually be put together, but actually it kind of works because I can style it well. Again, this is going to sound really cocky, but I don't really have anyone that I really follow. Like, I don't really follow influencers for style inspiration. I always like to look at Fashion Week and like Fashion Week crowds, the street style pictures, the way people get creative with their looks and how they dress is probably where I get my inspiration from sometimes. But otherwise, on a day-to-day basis, I don't follow anyone, and I don't look up to anyone for style inspiration, because for me it's quite intuitive to what I'm feeling and what I like at the time. So I actually answered this off screen, but like, sadly it would be my laptop, because my whole life, my whole business, everything is on that laptop. I wish I could give you another answer, because that is such a shit, sad answer, but it would be my laptop. I really struggle with that because I don't actually have a particular favourite brand, but in terms of like brands in like a retailer that I love to shop at would be Sense. Sense has got incredible, really cool brands that are super creative, really out there, quite innovative in like how they style. Some of my favourite designers are the designers from the 90s. Again, I love Dolce & Gabbana, I love the old school Versace, but in terms of like innovation and everyday kind of like streetwear, luxury, I have quite a lot because there's so many amazing brands that are out there now. But where I would shop for those brands would be Sense, and you'll be able to see like all the brands that I'm talking about. So one is just to buy less. So the biggest thing for us in this current climate is we are mass producing clothes that aren't even made with high quality as priority. We are constantly buying into these new trends as such. Just the simple answer to that is to shop less and reuse more. So fashion rental, and I'm not just saying that because I have a fashion rental company, but fashion rental is a great alternative for those one-off pieces that you want to wear, and you know you're only maybe going to wear it once or twice, and then it's going to be back in your wardrobe and you want to make a statement with something. But also secondly, I want to like highlight that buying second hand is also a great alternative when you need to buy for summer, or you want to source like a pair of boots or a coat. Second hand is always great. I always go on Vintage and look for second hand pieces that I know that I want. I would look at that as another option as well for your everyday things that you know you could probably get like half the price, because a lot of people buy second hand and they're unused as well. So it's a great way to maybe save money as well. Shop less, reuse more, whether that is fashion rental or buying second hand would be my answer to that. I would have to say the people that I've met such incredible people in business, but also in fashion and everything else in between. The amount of support that I've received and I've been able to give as well has just been so lovely and so nice. Also being able to be creative. I think when I was looking at jobs or looking at working in the fashion industry, there's only so much that you can be creative with, like what you're doing, because ultimately someone else makes the decision. So for me, it's been such a nice journey to be able to build, create a brand, create like something that I'm proud of. So that's been a really special part of creating Killer Muse. So I think that for me that's an easy answer. It'd be the 90s. I love 90s fashion. I think there was so much character, there was so much art in it, but it was also so sleek and so sexy and very on edge as well. Like people were really experimenting with like themselves. I think that's probably influenced by the rave culture that was also happening in the 90s. I still try and source pieces like coats. This blazer is a Dolce & Gabbana 90s. I always try and source in the 90s because their cuts, everything, there was just so much more character, but a sleekness to it as well. I'm going to say this because it's the first one that comes to my mind, because a lot of people say it to me simply because of my long hair. It's probably Pocahontas. Pocahontas is such a free spirit and wants to just like go and explore the world, and is open, non-judgmental, and also has great hair, which I would commend myself for that. I'm also so free-spirited. I love traveling and I love meeting people, new people, and I'm not judgmental, and I'm so open. So that is a really hard one for me. I am a huge foodie. Number one would have to be my grandma's curries. I'm Pakistani heritage, and her curries are the most incredible tasting, balanced meal you'll ever have. So I would have to go with my grandma's curries, but then also on the other end of that, I do love pizza. Like anyone that knows me will know that I just love pizza. I would have it all day, every day, and I would also eat chips with loads of dips, like as in like chippy, like chips, fried chips. I would eat them as well. I love them. Great question. I actually get asked this question quite a lot. So I started the Killer Muse as a fashion blog whilst I was at uni. I was studying something I really didn't want to study. So on the side I always wanted to work in the fashion industry, so began a fashion blog on Instagram before Instagram was huge. And the way I came across the name The Killer Muse was I used to follow a fashion blog called The Native Fox, and I loved how she referred to herself in like third person. And I loved the word killer because I used to say, oh, that's a killer look or something like that. And I loved the word muse. And then weirdly, I'm really funny about lineage and stuff like that, so I thought the Killer Muse works perfectly because I love the way it sounds, I love the way it looks. So the Killer Muse, the reason behind the name as well is not just like the way it looks, is because I feel like we all aspire to be someone, whether it's like a better version of ourselves or the future version of ourselves, or who we want to be and achieve. Or it might just be like an influencer, a celebrity, or someone that you love the look of and you want to be like and be part of. And that is the Killer Muse. So for me, it made sense to create a fashion rental app that had that name. So I have different ranges of outfits. My everyday outfit is probably quite samey because I go to the office and work on this startup. But I always want to make it look good, so I always have like base layers, so whether it is like leggings that like suck you in with like a top, sometimes it could be like a cropped version of the top, and then I style it with gloves, knee-high boots, and then a really nice coat. So I always change my coats, but on an everyday basis, when I'm being lazy, I stick with the same base layer, which for me is black and tight, because that fits my body type and it works well with my body type. And then layering it with like a coat, or if it's like summer, be a duster, and then styling it with like necklaces, my hair, sunglasses, and I always wear knee-high boots. I love knee-high boots. For me, it's like, yeah, it just adds that little bit of style. Yes, I do rent a lot of my stuff out in the Killer Muse. It all started with lending my own items. When I was younger, people would always want to borrow my clothes. They weren't a designer at that stage. They were like All Saints, which at that point was like expensive for me. But I rent some of my bags out, I rent some of my clothes out, some of my shoes out. Here's a fun fact about me. I actually never know what movie I've watched. I won't know the name of it. For some reason my brain doesn't register what movies I've watched. But I would say my favourite movie, and I'm only going to say this because my husband would love this because he's a die-hard fan, is Lord of the Rings. I recently just watched Lord of the Rings for the first time 2 weeks ago, and I binge watched it twice, and I binge watched The Hobbit twice, whilst I was working, of course. But I do actually love it. And I'm now 31, and that is when I watched Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. That's a bit of a hard question. It's not a hard question, but you're probably like, what the fuck does she listen to? But when I'm in the gym, I always like to look for new playlists. So right now I'm into like French trap music, which is like, I love that, but I love house music and I love tech house as well. It's like what I love to listen to when I'm in the gym. But when I am in the house, I love to put like jazz music on in the morning, or classical, or artists like Jenny Aiko I love. So it really depends on my mood, but the reason when I'm at the gym I look for new playlists is because tech house, trap, and like R&B kinda is the kind of vibe that I like, and Arab house music as well, because I always think of what I like to DJ, and DJing is something like I do in my free time. So I always like to get creative with how I would mix things, but that is what I listen to on a daily basis. Fashion do's is, I would suggest like understanding your body type, and that doesn't mean that you can't express yourself and how you want to dress, but I think when you know what your body type is and you can dress for that, you can look so sleek and you can look so good. You can still dress yourself expressively as well, but being able to know what shape you're creating is like an amazing skill to have. So understanding your body type is a fashion do for me, and I don't mean that in any bad kind of way whatsoever. I think everyone should be able to express themselves through their clothes. To be honest, I don't really have fashion don'ts. I think I would have a fashion don't if I seen an outfit that wasn't put together well. That would be my fashion don't, but I think you can put an outfit together in any kind of way that you want, as long as you make it look good, and that comes with styling. So another fashion do actually would be, make sure you always style your outfit, so you don't just wear something off the hanger and you actually style it, because that's like, the styling aspect is where you can get really creative with like your look, and you can make it look completely different to someone else that has the same outfit, same coat, same shoes, same dress. So styling is like a key part of an outfit. And always wear perfume that matches your vibe that day, because that is part of your outfit.